Hey, my name is Sean Hatzel and I'm a fat loss expert with over 20 years of real-world hands-on experience in the fitness industry. And in this short eye-opening presentation, I'm going to reveal 3 metabolic triggers that block your fat loss and 3 simple rules that you can use to instantly fix it. And I'm going to do this through something that I call macro patterning. And this is a discovery that I made after suffering from what I call the low-carb crux. And this is why 95% of all people who try some low-carb plan or some other type of trendy diet gain all or more of their weight back within a year of losing it. So if you've ever dieted before, or you've ever just went periods where you've eaten unhealthy for a lengthy period of time, then research shows and actually proves that your metabolism could be damaged and radically altered. And what I'm about ready to show you with these 3 metabolic triggers is how you can fix it. So you can read the story about my discovery about macro patterning below this video. In the meantime, I want to introduce you to the 3 metabolic triggers that are blocking your fat loss and the 3 simple rules that you can follow to instantly fix it. Now the first one I'm going to teach you is how to manipulate glycogen. The second one is how to master your fat burning hormones. And the third one is how to limit fat spillover. And I have a box drawn up here for a reason. This is actually a picture of your body. And this is the inside of your body, and outside your body out here is where you store that ugly word, fat. So in here is where you store your body fat. Now, inside your body, in here, you're holding bone, tissue, organ, glands, and some other things. And this is where you're going to actually control and learn how to manipulate your fat burning hormones. Now what we really want to pay attention to is in here, which is your muscle tissue or your storage tank. Now, in particular, this is where you store carbohydrates in the form of what we call glycogen. So this is how you can manipulate glycogen. What ends up happening is when you consume carbs on a daily basis, you start filling up your muscle tissue. And as you continue to consume carbs day after day, you end up filling your tank all the way to the top. Now, every time you go to consume a carbohydrate, you have nowhere to store it. So unless you're running off the road, burning it off, or using some other type of high-intensity exercise to burn it off, you're going to suffer from what we call fat spillover. And that's where the term fat spillover comes in, and that's where you hear about carbohydrates spilling over and being stored as fat. Now, what most people will do in this situation is they'll turn around and they'll go the other way and they'll go low carb, and they'll try to manipulate their carbohydrate intake and come all the way down here and try to get down here so their body can burn fat. And this ends up working, but it's a temporary quick fix that could get you in a trick bag, and it can actually block your fat loss. So what I'm going to introduce you to in the next 3 videos is how you can macro pattern your carb intake with 3 simple tricks to overcome these 3 obstacles that block your fat loss. And what macro patterning is going to teach you how to do is to live life right in this area right here without ever crossing this line of fat spillover. And then a few times of the week with these 3 simple rules, you can come down here and actually program your body to come over here and grab and find fat and burn it as fuel. So in the next video, I'm going to show you exactly how to manipulate glycogen and introduce you to your first metabolic trigger and your first simple rule that you need to follow. Okay, welcome back. So now I'm going to introduce you to the first metabolic trigger that's blocking your fat loss and the simple rule that you can follow to overcome this obstacle and start healing some of the damage that you may have done to your metabolism. And most importantly, program your body to make fat its primary go-to energy source on a daily ongoing basis. Now we know from the introduction video that if we eat too many carbohydrates and we're not burning them off over time, we fill up our tank. And then every time we consume a carb, unless we're burning it off, the minute that that carbohydrate enters our mouth, it's available for energy. This is the only food source that's instantly available for energy to the body. So when we consume these carbohydrates, remember that they'll spill over and actually start helping you accumulate more belly fat unless you're running off the road burning them off. So we have to manipulate carb intake in a healthy manner. And we call this depleting. And most people, when they deplete, they do it completely the wrong way, and they actually damage their metabolism even further. So you have to make sure that, number 1, you deplete for the right durations, number 2, you deplete with the right foods, and number 3, you deplete at the right times. And here is what you want to do. We want to manipulate glycogen by lowering your carb intake and keeping your carb grams under 50 grams a day on your cardio or your interval days. So this should be approximately about 3 days of your week. You want to keep those carb grams under 50. Now you want to make sure that these carb grams are only impact carbs. When I say impact carbs, that means no starches and no fruits on these days. You can still have lots of green vegetables and you can have residual carbs from other foods. Just make sure that you're keeping an eye on your carb grams and you keep them below 50 grams per day on your cardio days. And what this will do is it will allow you to drain your glycogen tank down here on those days so that now you have room for an influx of carbohydrates to keep your metabolism happy. And this is one of the things that we do to help you master your fat burning hormones right in here. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you on the next video. Okay, so now that you understand exactly how to manipulate your glycogen levels 3 days of the week, to go ahead and drain down your glycogen levels to put them in a position where you can make some room in your tank for an influx of carbohydrates. So by draining your glycogen levels down here just 3 days of the week on your bursting interval or cardio days, now you've actually made all this room right up in here for an influx of extra carbohydrates to come in. Now what ends up happening is if you just spend less than a week down here at a time, you dramatically suppress your fat burning hormones and you get something called metabolic slowdown. So it only takes a few days of low carb dieting before your metabolism slows down and you start fighting fat loss and you suppress two primary hormones. The first one is T3, which is your thyroid, and the second one is leptin levels. And leptin is kind of like the hormone that trumps all other fat burning hormones. So first of all, T3 is kind of like the master gland of the metabolism. It controls your metabolism. So we want to keep T3 and T4, your thyroid hormones, happy. And then we also have leptin. Now leptin communicates to your brain and to your body whether or not you should burn fat or whether or not you should store fat. And believe it or not, it only takes about a week of low carb dieting before serum leptin levels can drop over 50%. So what we want to do is we want to add in a cheat day. And on this cheat day, we want to go ahead and take in an influx of carbohydrates. And what this is going to do is a couple things. Number one, it's going to drive T3, T4, and leptin back up again to keep your hormones happy and prevent that metabolic slowdown so that you can keep your body in a fat-burning environment. Number two, it's going to help spark your metabolism because carbs are very anabolic and they promote insulin. And insulin helps you gain lean calorie burning muscle. So 2 or 3 days of the week we want to make sure that we're still consuming healthy carbohydrates, but most importantly 1 day of the week we want to make sure that we have a cheat day because this will help reset all those fat burning hormones. It will also help replenish those glycogen stores that have been drained down from manipulating your glycogen levels. And lastly, and most importantly, it gives you that crucial psychological break and reward that you need to keep yourself on track when you're manipulating your glycogen levels through macro patterning the other days of the week. So now that you understand how to manipulate your glycogen and how to master your fat burning hormones with a cheat day, let's introduce you to a unique tactic that you can use to limit fat spillover. So now let's introduce you to the final and third metabolic trigger that could be blocking your fat loss, and a simple rule that you can follow to overcome this obstacle, keep your metabolism happy, and again, program your body to make stubborn belly fat your primary go-to energy source on a daily basis. So remember, over time as we consume foods haphazardly, if we're just snacking on our favorite foods or we're not following any type of structured plan, we end up programming our metabolism to burn things like food and calories instead of body fat. So the first two metabolic triggers that I introduced you to were part of the equation that's going to help you make fat your primary go-to energy source so that your body prefers to use fat as fuel rather than food and calories. However, we know that we still need to take in carbohydrates about 2 or 3 other days of the week on top of our cheat day. Otherwise, we're going to get that metabolic slowdown and we're going to suppress those fat-burning hormones that I talked to you about in the last metabolic trigger. So in order to do this, we have to time our carbohydrates. So if you really want to limit and control fat spillover when your tank gets full, the easiest way to do this is through carb timing techniques. So 3 days of the week, when you do your resistance or your strength training, we're going to time your carb intake around these workouts. So there's 3 times of the day that you should be consuming your carbohydrates on your weight training days. Now the first one is first thing in the morning. This is when insulin sensitivity is the highest, which means your body is more likely to utilize those carbohydrates and prevent them from spilling over as fat. The second time is about 3 to 4 hours before a workout, before weights or resistance training. By consuming these carbs about 3 or 4 hours before the workout, now we give our body enough time to digest these carbohydrates so that we're not going into the workout with a full stomach, so we're in a slightly fasted state, which can maximize our fat burning hormones. But at the same time, because we consume those carbohydrates about 3 or 4 hours before the workout, now we've loaded up on a little bit of glycogen in here, and we have the energy that we need to sustain us through the workout, and we're going to utilize those carbohydrates in the workout so that they never spill over to fat. Now the third and the most important time to consume your carbohydrates is post-workout or after your workout. So what you want to do is within 30 to 60 minutes after your workout, that's when you want to have your largest carb serving of the day on your weight training days, about 3 days of the week. Now what this is going to do, if your workout intensity is high enough, you're going to activate something called GLUT4. And GLUT4 is something that is a glucose transporter. So in simple terms, what that is it just makes it so that when your body starts digesting and using these carbohydrates, it will actually redirect them into muscle tissue so that you're storing your carbs right in this area. They're never going to fat spillover, and at the same exact time, now you're keeping all your fat burning hormones happy and you're keeping your metabolism going. So if you time your carb techniques this way 3 days of the week on your weight training and your strength training days, you'll never have to worry about fat spillover. And now you know the 3 metabolic triggers that can block your fat loss and the 3 simple rules that you can follow to overcome these obstacles. Now let me introduce you to my 14-day rapid fat loss plan, and you can put this stuff to work on your body and in your life. Okay, so now I have some great news for you. I'm going to show you how you can take the 3 metabolic triggers that I just introduced you to and put them to work on your body so that you can experience 14 days of your fastest fat loss ever with my 14-day rapid fat loss plan. So what I'm going to do here is I have 5 sections in this guide, and I want to cover them with you so that you can see if this is going to be a good fit. Now what's unique about this 14-day plan is after you're done with it, you'll actually be able to implement these strategies into your lifestyle so that you can keep the weight off year-round. In fact, when I was introduced to macro patterning years ago, ever since then, I've been able to maintain well under 10% body fat year-round, and I've never looked back because it's such an easier protocol to adhere to long-term. And it's important that you understand this, that when you're finished with this 14 days, you're going to understand how you can actually use carb cycling as a lifestyle to maintain a lean body year-round without dealing with the suffering and the pain of always dieting down. So section number 1 is all workouts. And the first thing I put in there is something called my HIRT workouts, which stands for High Intensity Resistance Training. Now this is unlike anything that you've ever experienced before. It's a combination of metabolic bursting and weight training done together. And this isn't metabolic circuits or MRT or anything like that. This is unique. In fact, these workouts are only 20 minutes in length. And you can burn up more stubborn body fat in this 20 minutes than you could in an entire hour of traditional exercise. And even more important, you stimulate muscle and actually can gain some lean muscle at the same time by using these HIRT workouts. Now what we do is we use these HIRT workouts and design them to work in synergy with my Ultimate Cardio Sequence 1.0 and 2.0. Now this is sometimes referred to as the stubborn fat protocol. And it overcomes the problem with traditional interval training or traditional cardio. You see, when you do traditional intervals or traditional cardio, what happens is your body ends up releasing these hormones called catecholamines. Now these catecholamines assist in the process of breaking apart stubborn fat so that fatty acids can be released into the bloodstream. Well, there's a problem with this because what ends up happening is after these free fatty acids are released into the bloodstream, unless you understand how to use my Ultimate Cardio Sequence, you can suffer from something called re-esterification. All this means is that the fat that you just burned off and released in the bloodstream actually floats around to another part of the body and settles in because traditional intervals and traditional cardio don't address blood flow. And blood flow is critical for you to burn off stubborn body fat. And my Ultimate Cardio Sequence 1.0 and 2.0 are going to teach you a sneaky little trick that you can use to burn off more fat than you ever have, and most importantly, block re-esterification. Now I've also added in a bonus workout called ab targeted cardio. It takes the ultimate cardio sequence to the next level by actually targeting belly fat directly. Now this isn't spot reduction, but it's about as close as you're going to get, and it's scientifically proven. I think you'll really enjoy it. I even provide the ab exercises that you need to do when you try my ab targeted cardio. Now, to sweeten the pot, I added in the workout section, I added in a bonus, which is my metabolic bursting guide. Now this is an 8-week guide that takes you through something that I call interval sequencing. You see, your body and your metabolism has 3 different systems, and if you're not continuously accessing these 3 systems with your bursting, your interval, or your cardio workouts, you're going to run into that wall and you're going to hit that plateau. My interval sequencing teaches you on a weekly basis how to access all 3 of these systems with 3 workouts a week, so that you're continuously overcoming adaptation and continuing to bust through those walls and continue to grab and burn up body fat. Now the second section works in synergy with section number 1 because it's all the meal plans for your macro patterning plan. In 3 days of the week, we're going to keep carb intake up and we're going to keep fat intake low. So carbs are going to be up, fats are going to be down, and on these days you're going to engage in those HURT workouts to take advantage of the extra carb intake. And remember how crucial this is, because it keeps your hormones happy, it keeps your metabolism humming along so that it doesn't slow down, and most importantly, it helps stimulate lean calorie burning muscle tissue. Now the other 3 days of the week, carbs are going to be lower and fats are going to be higher, so carbs are down and fats are up. And these are the days where you're going to do your ultimate cardio sequence and your ab targeted cardio, because this is how we're going to manipulate those glycogen levels to target lower stomach fat. Now the last day is the famous cheat day. Now we know the importance of this. I already covered it with you, so I won't go into details. Just understand this is crucial for your success. A lot of people think they can just skip the cheat day to get better results. It's not true. If you skip the cheat day, you're just going to hit that wall and hit exercise and diet adaptation, and you're going to hit a plateau and not be able to lose fat. So make sure you incorporate the cheat day. Now section number 3 is a 7-step proven formula that's all about mental tactics. And this is the same exact formula that I use with my local clients to get them off their ass and actually build habits into their life. It's one thing to do this for 14 days. It's another thing to make it part of your lifestyle, and that's what my 7-step proven formula does. And if you skip this section, you're not addressing half of the equation of fat loss. Half of the equation is mental, and this 7-step proven formula is going to teach you not only how to lose the weight, but to keep it off for the long haul. Now I put in 2 bonus sections for you. The first one is scientifically proven unique tips and tricks and techniques to enhance the results of this plan. So I put in a little bit about blood sugar, how to use vegetables as an anti-estrogen to control your hormones. I put some cold exposure tricks in here, and I even talk about how to enhance the results of your cheat day. Now the 5th and final section is an introduction to our recipe boot camp. Now this is the big problem with most nutrition plans and most meal plans. When you think about burning fat or following some type of diet, we automatically associate misery and pain with dieting because of bland, boring foods. And it doesn't have to be this way. So I'm going to teach you how to use this 14-day aggressive plan while still enjoying some tasty food with my recipe. Convenient